Super Mario Galaxy is a fun movie with good visuals, soundtrack, and good art direction, but questionable writing. It's fun if you're looking for a somewhat fun comedy and you're already a fan of Nintendo at large. You'll enjoy this. That is the majority of the spoiler-free thoughts I will have through the course of this video. Almost this entire video will be just full of constant spoilers. So if you want to see the Super Mario Galaxy movie without any spoilers, that's all I got for you. Without further ado, I'm going to immediately start talking about what I think this movie mostly did wrong with its writing, and then I'm going to talk about the positives towards the end. So, first of all, my biggest criticism of this movie overall is the handling of Bowser's character. The whole movie sets up this constant idea that Bowser has, a growth towards being a better character. You see him taking steps with Luigi, and you can see him feel remorse towards the way he acts with Mario through almost the entire movie. And it just goes nowhere. After the scene where they first, Bowser Jr. first fights them in space while Bowser's there, they just never address Bowser really trying to change it all for the rest of the movie. It goes nowhere. He never has a heart-to-heart with his son, which is the biggest missed opportunity in the movie, and he really does nothing to stop his son, which I think are the two biggest criticisms I can put towards this movie. Is Bowser's character arc kind of went nowhere in the name of keeping the status quo of the Mario franchise, of keeping Bowser a villain. So it kind of became a moot plot point. The same goes for Peach and Mario's relationship. They constantly build throughout the movie this idea that Mario wants to ask Peach out, and outside of a small kiss on the cheek at the end of the movie, which they didn't really discuss the relationship, that's all we got out of it. They never really have a conversation about what their relationship is, or if they are in a relationship, or really anything. It's just a plot point that's kind of brought up repeatedly, and then is never really explored. In place of resolving those character arcs, the film spends a lot more time introducing new characters and references and such, and I'm gonna list through each of them and my thoughts on some of them briefly, but I feel like that is a large part of the problem of this film. We'll come back to that. Yoshi, who they for some reason hired Donald Glover to say Yoshi repeatedly for an hour and a half, is a fun addition that doesn't hugely add anything to the actual plot. In fact, I'd like to note that they weirdly did just kind of sideline both Yoshi and Luigi for no reason in the final act, just for them to show up later, and they didn't do anything, so them splitting up was more or less just so that Luigi and Yoshi weren't around for most of the final act, and I don't know why they did that. Rosalina. I like the idea of Rosalina being Peach's sister, and she's really cool when she's on screen, but she barely is. In fact, most of this movie, she is basically in a jar in Bowser Jr.'s lair. Fox McCloud from the Star Fox series is probably the most random inclusion in this movie for how directly relevant to the plot he is. However, I actually don't really mind how relevant Fox is. I feel like he fits into the theme of Mario Galaxy very well, and if we're going to expand the Nintendo bracket outside of Mario in these movies, then I think Fox is a good stepping stone character. He was fun in the movie, I liked some of his scenes, and he was cool for what he was. Birdo, and by extension the other Mario Land characters I am too lazy to name. They don't really add anything, except they have one really, really cool fight scene. Totality-wise, though, they're kind of just there to be punching bags in the middle of the movie. The Pikmin. It was a really small reference and didn't really go anywhere, obviously, because it was just a, blink or you miss a reference. But it was still cool to see the little guys. Mr. Game & Watch was summoned by Luigi mid-fight like he's a fucking stand. Rob was, in fact, in the film. Daisy! There's not much to say about Daisy. She was just a post-credit scene, but still, it was cool to see her. Collectively, though, it is a lot of new things to add and expand into the story, and like I mentioned earlier, I think the core problem this film had is it was trying to cram in a bunch of references and a bunch of new stuff instead of fleshing out the plot points and storylines they were clearly already doing. They didn't really flesh out the certain storylines as much as they should have, because they wanted to cram in a couple more cameos. At least that's the way it feels to me personally. And I feel like this movie overall would have been a lot better if they focused on some of those more core plot points, like Bowser's story, or Bowser Jr. and Bowser's relationship, or Mario and Peach's relationship, instead of focusing on cramming in as many new references as they can. I think that's the main thing this movie really struggled with. That isn't to say this movie didn't have any pros at all. I've mentioned this a few times, but the action set pieces were really good. The standouts to me were the casino fight with Peach and Toad, and also the Rosalina one right at the beginning against the big Bowser Jr. mech. Those are both very well put together fight scenes. Peach in general actually was a standout character for me in this movie. I think she had a lot of really cool moments and scenes. And honestly, the time we spent with Peach I think was some of the better time of the movie. The film had a couple solid jokes, mostly from Toad. We love Toad. The animation is very beautiful and really well rendered. I think this is the best Illumination has ever done, visually speaking. This is, I think, their best work that way. So, like, it's not as to say this movie is overall bad. As I said at the beginning, if you already do like Nintendo, and you already do like Mario, and I guess Star Fox, because a lot of this movie also included that, you're probably gonna like it. If you're just coming into this with low expectations, knowing this is an Illumination-made Mario film, you're probably not going to be that disappointed. It's really not that bad. It also could have been a lot better. There's a lot of places where I think they dropped the ball, mainly in the writing department. But I think a part of it, too, was they were just trying to cram more in here than they probably should have. And ultimately, if maybe we trimmed down more of the characters they stuffed in, and focused more on the characters that were already here, I think the big movie overall would have been maybe a little bit better. Overall, though, I think if you do enjoy the source material, and that's the source, the stuff you want to see, and you want to see that on a big screen, you're going to enjoy this. And for me, that's what I wanted out of this movie, was just to see Mario characters in a movie that looks good, and for the most part, it is there. So, for me, it's a 6 out of 10. I think it's a solid, if you know what you're getting into, movie. Just don't expect a cinematic masterpiece. It's fun for what it is. And that is overall my very thought-out review on Super Mario Galaxy. Thank you for watching today's slop. Have a beautiful day, people. Bye-bye.